Good evening, everybody. This is Quarantine Day 19, and this is the evening episode. Well, this evening I've got on my yukata, and I've got on an American beer shirt. I thought for this evening's conversation, I would talk about some of the differences that I've noticed and experienced between American and Japanese response to disaster. So, got again representing Japan, this yukata, and then the American beer shirt to just emphasize the point. So, 3 weeks in, I've now experienced a fairly major life-altering disaster in America. And now this is a very different time compared to when I was living alone in Japan. I'm with a family here in America, 10 years difference. It's pretty significant. So, bearing in mind all that. Now, I knew going into Japan and living in Japan, it's a very lawful country, especially compared to America. People follow the rules. I was surprised at how that lawfulness perpetuated through a disaster, right? And that was their core strength. That was what got them through. Now, I suppose that could have been dangerous had they had, for whatever reason, a government that decided to embark them on a completely disastrous policy in response to a natural disaster. Because I think in Japan, they would follow that policy right into more trouble. And they'd do it fully committed. America, we question things a lot more. Whether it's questioning whether this quarantine is too strict or it's not strict enough. And it's interesting because you have groups from different normal political divides in both sections, right? So we just divide upon these lines and we dissent, whether it's dissenting from how the governor is handling things or how the president is handling things. I'm not saying I have any sort of dissent or agreement. That's not what this is here for. I'm just saying, as Americans, we do voice that dissent fairly substantially. And, you know, in a sense, that can be not as strengthening as what they do in Japan, where it's kind of like everybody focuses on this plan. If the plan is at least moderately good, as most plans are for these situations, you know, try to ration things out, make sure everybody gets what they need, people aren't hoarding, that's that's usually helpful, but we dissent a bit more, which I think, you know, one way to look at it is it often leads to us taking the first blow, and taking the first blow really hard. And that's happened throughout our history, whether it's like Pearl Harbor or the Lusitania. You know, like we wait. There has to be like this blow before we really take action as Americans, where we say, oh, hey, I need to react to this. And I need to start changing what I'm doing from like the top down, just activating the whole country towards some sort of action. And that's a weakness. And I think we're taking the blow right now from this virus. But I think when we do get into action, Americans are very effective. Because, again, we take that very independent-mindedness, that ability to think outside the box, just a very wide, like a lot of people in this country really do think outside the box, believe it or not. We take this creativity, this energy, this industriousness, and we just direct it at the problem. Now, I don't know if that's going to end up just having us sort of shadowboxing this invisible enemy, as it's called, or whether that's really going to bring us to a solution to the problem. But I think our strength has yet to be activated, because we usually take the blow throughout our history before we get into action. So, I'm thinking about the differences where, you know, in Japan, it was like after this electricity shortage and resource shortage from the earthquake and tsunami, it was like, okay, you're going to limit how much bottled water could be purchased. You're going to limit how much electricity can be used for air conditioning in that summer. There was just this total effort, and then that flowed down through everything very smoothly. Like our company said, okay, we normally have you wear suit jackets. Now we're going to let you wear just like a dress shirt that's short-sleeved and a tie. And I was like, great. So even though it was hotter in the classroom, I got everybody adjusted. So I see some of that we're doing here, but it's not as smooth. It doesn't just kind of flow down like, okay, we're taking this step, so everybody needs to take these steps. We're going to be taking this really big blow, and we're taking it right now. And that's hard, that's sad. And I know there's a lot of reason to kind of despair, but what I would say is, if we do have some sort of punch back for this virus, we haven't thrown that punch yet, and we'll see where this goes. We'll see where this goes. We're certainly not a country that gets into grocery lines very orderly, and we're not a country that gets into gas lines very orderly when we feel like they're rationing things, and we're not sure if we're going to get it for our family. We tend to get chaos. You know, you can get all sorts of YouTube videos showing that. But we have leaders who understand that reality as well. So, alright, we'll just see where this goes. But that's where I see the differences at. Again, Japan, some of these countries, Taiwan, Korea, these East Asian countries, they were very effective. Their strengths were to take action immediately. People followed. They were okay with like a little bit intrusive into the privacy of checking credit cards and cell phone data. So they were very good at stopping that initial surge and tracking cases and getting everybody organized. Americans, again, somebody flies into the country, says, I don't feel sick. They wander out, and this asymptomatic spreading. When I heard that this virus could do that, I was just like, we're going to get hit with this, because Americans are going to insist on going out if they feel fine. So, alright, let me know what your thoughts and comments are. Just put them in, and stay safe, stay healthy, and stay inside if you can, Americans.